All right, good people. Good late evening, maybe even you'd call it night now. I don't know, but it is certainly later than I usually post videos, but the Seahawks had their joint practice today, and I wasn't able to get to discussing it until pretty late in the day, and there was so much stuff, I had to split it into two videos. So what are you going to do? Hope everyone's doing well. If you're watching this the next day because you weren't able to catch it the day of, obviously it's not like this information is going anywhere. It's not like anything is radically going to change from what we knew yesterday. So, so be it. But yeah, we got more joint practice information to go over. If you didn't watch my video from a couple hours ago, you should probably go watch that one first because I discussed basically the first half of the information that we got from the joint practice. And this video won't really make a lot of sense, and this video won't feel complete if you don't watch that one first. But the last thing I said in the first video, the video that I posted a few hours ago, was talking about the brawl, the skirmish that happened between the Seahawks and Packers at about 10 a.m. our time, 10 a.m. Pacific. And it was not just one skirmish, it was two. It was our offense versus their defense and our defense versus their offense in unrelated but nevertheless violent encounters. And to echo real quick what I said in the previous video, this is not something I view to be any kind of a problem. It'd be a problem if things escalated to the point where players were getting seriously hurt, if players started using like weapons to really try to injure somebody. That's very different. But by all accounts, this was just kind of certainly some physical altercations, some punches being thrown. But I don't think there was anything that happened in this joint practice session that crossed the line. I think one Packer player got thrown out, and I don't think any Seahawks did. So we did all right in my book. But this was the one with Ken Walker scoring, and then Anthony Bradford and one of the Packers defensive linemen kind of went at it. Shortly after the initial fight, or the start of the sequence of fights, you had Sam Darnold hitting JSN for a touchdown pass with Haddon in coverage. Haddon was somebody who was already kind of on edge from trash talking Bobo, and him giving up a touchdown to JSN, and JSN getting a little showboaty after it. It seemed to get to him a little bit, and it caused things to escalate even further from there. And we had this. The far end of the field away from the action, but looks like another Seahawks D versus Packers offense fight. So this is going back to the other side with our defense. We're seeing more brawling. And again, this is standard practice for joint practice. That's the thing I want to stress here to anybody out there. And I don't think there are very, very many people who are worried about this or not happy with this. But if you are, understand this is the nature of a joint practice. They always end in violence outside of the confines of a football game. And I don't think it's considered to be a bad thing. Some coaches don't like it because they're worried their players will get hurt. But again, if things escalate to the point where someone gets seriously hurt, then that is the point where things have gone too far and somebody needs to rein that in. So, to my knowledge, nothing ascended to that point today. Nothing got to the point where there was any kind of a concern that somebody was going to get seriously injured. But we had that, and there was this one as well. I believe this is the same one that Dugar was talking about. Devin Witherspoon got into the face mask of a Packers offensive lineman, everyone masked at the center of the field. So Witherspoon doing what he does. This is his thing. He gets into people's faces. He gets a little bit yappy. He instigates. He puts people off their game with his verbal stuff as well as what he does physically. So seems like that was kind of the center of it. And then a couple plays later, we had our, fourth string nose tackle, J.R. Singleton, charging at a Packer, and gets everybody out there scrumming in the end zone. The way Greg Bell puts it here is very, very accurate, I think. It's right at the edge, but not over the line. I suspect Coach McDonald doesn't exactly mind. This is part of the reason why you do it, because for the most part, so far this offseason, the Seahawks have only been able to work against the Seahawks. So you are practicing against people that are your comrades. Like I said in the previous video, you can't really be violent with them. You can't really go all out on them because it's a practice, and you're not going to feel the level of animosity that you're going to feel for an enemy player, a player on another team. So when they finally get this moment to really go all out at someone who's on a different team, it gets heated. So this does not terribly surprise me. It did seem like it was happening a lot as the day went on, though. This is literally like 2-3 minutes after the one with Devin Witherspoon. Now we get J.R. Singleton. So there continued to be more skirmishes, more fights, more things like that, more jawing throughout the day. But I do want to talk a little bit about these actual game highlights. Like I said, in the first video, K9 and JSN looked really, really good for the most part throughout the day. But I do want to talk about some of the other highlights. Like we have this from Dugar. Zach Charbonnet broke off a big run. Might have been a long touchdown in a real game. So that was another guy who was doing some stuff. It seemed to me that our offense was doing really well pretty much throughout. My understanding is that Darnold threw one interception to Evan Williams, and other than that, things were clean. And we moved the ball basically at will, and we got in the end zone when we needed to. Here's another scuffle, and this is the one I think that most people know. We had a boxing match between Ernest Jones and Zach Tom. I do believe that Zach Tom got thrown out of practice. I don't know if Ernest Jones did. I don't think he did, but maybe he did, and I just haven't heard it yet. And again, there's a line, and it doesn't seem like it was crossed. So I'm cool with it. I'm good with it. I'm not a huge fan of punches being thrown because that is a way players can actually get hurt. But at the same time, I understand that it's still going to happen. Just because you don't want it to happen doesn't mean it just never happens. Calling out some other notably good players from today, kind of just in a random order here as the day waned on, and eventually we got to around, I think before noon they had it wrapped up, but Shaq Griffin was highlighted for having a really good day. 3 pass breakups, if not more, in tight man coverage. Hard jams, rerouting Packers receivers off the snap. It's the first time really this offseason where I feel like I've heard, oh, Shaq Griffin looks really good. We've heard things about Shaq Griffin, of course, but it's been more neutral. It's been more, oh, he's out there or he's not out there. Oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. This is the first time I've heard, hey, Shaq Griffin's having a really good day, and this is a really good day for him to have a good day. That roster spot is not locked up. I think he's got it. I do, but it's not guaranteed. It's not locked up. And I'd like him to be here because I do think that he provides a little bit more than somebody like Isis Waxter at this point. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry, guys. Long day. Had a long day. But nevertheless, good sign there. We've got more stuff from JSN as the day goes on. Over the middle to JSN. Barner catches a pass despite tight coverage from Walker. Another JSN pass to diving Bullard, and then Charbonnet gets a big run. So this was the reason why I'm highlighting this tweet. I know it sounds very generalized. This is the sentiment that I was hearing consistently throughout the day. The offense was getting what they needed. We had this holding call push things back, but then we made up the yardage on the next play. JSN being found over and over and over again. There was a sense that the offense was running things for the Seahawks. And I think that the Packers had a pretty good day with their offense as well. So it was a relatively, I guess you could call it a high-scoring day, if there is such a thing in practice. I do feel like the sense was, and this could just be reflective of who I'm listening to, it feels like the Seahawks came out of this session feeling a little bit better and a little more encouraged by what they did and what they saw than the Packers. I don't think either team was upset with the way things went. One of the big problems the Seahawks had was slipping on the turf because I guess they didn't have the right cleats, but apparently they had a really hard time finding their footing. That's something that should be addressed pretty easily by the regular season. One other thing that some people were pointing out here, this is from New Era 72 on X. He does some good stuff on X, by the way. Check him out. I don't know if I've ever talked about him on this channel before, but he had a clip here. I'm not going to play the clip, but a few people posted this clip. A few people commented on it Elijah Arroyo blocking, a straight up blocking rep against a defensive end one-on-one. He actually looks pretty good doing it. And that's definitely got to get your attention as a Seahawks fan, because this is not his game. Arroyo, not known as a blocker, not thought of as a blocker. It's not his strength as a player. So for him to get a rep like that, even if it's just one rep, it's something that I'm definitely going to notice. And it wasn't some cornerback on the blitz. It wasn't some slow, big, like one of those big edge players that has no speed. No, this was a legitimate defensive end here. And if Arroyo can block, he's going to be a lot better than I was thinking. And he's going to get on the field a lot more than I was initially thinking. And Arroyo's been a very interesting player so far this offseason for me when trying to judge him based on what other people say, because the range of takes have been incredibly wide. Some people believe that he is he looks slow and sluggish and doesn't run good routes. Other people say the exact opposite. So I can't wait for these games to get here so we can try to settle this science just a little bit. All right. Now we get to some of the things that were said after the practice was over, and buckle up for this one because we got some pretty juicy tidbits of information here. This one should get people the most excited. Jalen Milroe will start and play the whole game against Green Bay on Saturday, according to McDonald. The whole game. That's 4 quarters. That could be 65, 70 snaps. Who knows? He's going to get a decent number of snaps with players that at least belong in the NFL. It's not going to be a bunch of fifth stringers that give him very limited chances to do anything. And obviously, that is the most intriguing of the options we have. There's nothing interesting about playing Sam Darnold in a preseason game. At this point, there's not really anything interesting about playing Drew Lock. I think that there's the science is pretty settled there. And whatever you think of Jalen Milroe, him getting to play a whole preseason game feels right. At some point, we do need to push forward with what we have and really try to figure this out. And preferably, we figure things out before he even plays a regular season game. Preferably, before he actually even gets to play in the NFL as a quarterback, we will know for a fact who Jalen Milroe is, and if we should be investing that time and effort into him at all. And playing in a preseason finale like this, playing the whole game, is going to be part of that. It's going to be part of that evaluation. It's going to let us know, is he going to be ready next year? Is he going to be ready 2 years? It's going to give us a better idea of that. So get excited. This was the big news drop today. A lot of people are very excited about that. McDonald did say that most of our starters are not playing in Saturday against Green Bay, though. I would look for maybe a couple offensive linemen. Maybe you see some Bradford. Maybe you see Sundell. Maybe Sundell and Oluwatimi both need to play a good amount so they can kind of figure out what's going on there. You might see a little bit of a guy like a Byron Murphy, but I think they've already said no Emin Wari. Of course, any player that's even slightly injured right now, like Horton or Knight, you're not going to see. I wouldn't expect a ton here, but there's still plenty of stuff that's going on in terms of we need to figure out what we're actually doing. We don't need to see most starters. We know that JSN's our number one receiver. We know that AJ Barner and Elijah Arroyo are going to make the team. What we need to figure out is where do some of these running backs slot in at the back end. So be prepared for it. Nothing wrong with it. McDonald said they'll probably make an announcement next week on the starting center and right guard. They're still playing coy. It sure seems like it's going to be Anthony Bradford, and it sure seems like it's going to be Jalen Sundell, but he's leaving the door open. And look, if Oluwatimi goes out there against Green Bay and looks great, and then he's looking better in practice all week, you could go back, you could. But I think they really like what Sundell brings, not just in terms of quality of play, but also in terms of his skill set, which is something that Oluwatimi doesn't have. Oluwatimi can't do the things physically that Sundell can. Even if Sundell is probably a better player, Oluwatimi's probably a better player, one-to-one, apples to apples right now, that may not be the case for very long because Sundell has a higher ceiling. I think that's objectively true. And unclear how the preseason finale will factor into those battles, if at all. I gotta believe both the centers are going to play. I gotta believe Sundell and Oluwatimi both get some time. I'd be pretty surprised otherwise. So that's what's going on there. One injury today in the practice. One injury, and it was a head-related injury, according to Bob Condotta. At least that's what he believes. He's getting tested. We'll see for what. Don't really have a lot of details, but it was Mike Morris. If you were wondering if anybody got hurt for the Seahawks, it was Mike Morris. I don't think it happened during a brawl, for whatever that's worth. So if you were looking to get mad at all that, it doesn't seem like that was it. It's notable. It's not insignificant. Mike Morris was a guy who I suspected was going to make the roster, and we may have been leaning on him a little bit in the early part of the season while Nwosu's trying to make his way back. So I'm not thrilled about hearing this. I'm not happy. It is worth noting though that other teams in this league right now wish they had our problems. They wish the worst thing going on with them right now was they had somebody like Mike Morris with a head injury with 2 weeks to go before the first regular season game, or yeah, actually 2.5. We got Pro Bowl level players. We got some all pro level players getting hurt, missing the whole season. So again, can't really complain, but hopefully Mike Morris is okay. One other guy that let me pause that real quick. One other guy from today, and this is a guy who I mentioned earlier in this video, so I do want to point out, I want to be clear, quite a few people reported in the hours after the training camp session was over, or the practice, that Elijah Arroyo looked really good. He caught a one-handed touchdown on this clip right here. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Darnold talked about Arroyo. Brady Henderson quoted it here. He's been making incredible catches like that, so it didn't necessarily surprise me. When he went up there with one hand, that big mid, I knew there was over a 50% chance of catching it. That is certainly one of the things about Arroyo that stands out. He has very good hands, and he's going to be able to make catches like this in actual game situations. But for those of you who were wondering about Arroyo, I did mention his blocking a little bit earlier, that it looked pretty good. And as a receiver, he did good stuff as well. He had a red zone touchdown. I think he had a couple other catches as well. He looks like he's ready to do stuff in the NFL. I'll put it to you that way. He looks like he's ready to be a player. I still think Barner's the starter at first, but that may not be the case forever. Off topic of the joint practice today, I do want to draw attention to this because some people were wondering if maybe there was something going on here with Jadeveon Clowney, that maybe he was just planning on sitting out until November so he could go all gas, no brakes in the last half of the season. According to Aaron Wilson here, and Aaron Wilson, generally pretty credible source, Jadeveon Clowney is now talking with teams and plans to sign before the season starts. He just wanted to miss training camp. He just wanted to miss practice, and who can blame a guy? Some players don't really need it, and it looks like he is going to latch on. And you guys know I'm a big fan. I would love to have Jadeveon Clowney in here on a 1 year, $4 million or even $5 million deal to round out the edge room. I think that'd be great. I hope we're in on this one, but for whatever it's worth, it looks like a decision is coming sooner rather than later. Okay, that's about it for today. Again, sorry for the late upload, but I just didn't have the opportunity to talk about this until now. And see you guys tomorrow. I'll be on Twitch later tonight. I'll be streaming and presumably beating the original Metal Gear Solid. Come watch. Go Hawks.